To try and right the world's wrongs is beyond the power of any man. We each must do just what we can. That suits me fine, says Robbie. For Robbie, he's got things to say in London town or Lincoln Doddy, on life and death or work and play. Let's hear some more from Robbie.
I'm interested in food. Don't you too think that eating's one of life's great pleasures? And I've always been willing to try something different. I've eaten suckling pig cooked in embers under the earth in a remote Tongan island. I've dined sumptuously in a sleazy cafe among the smugglers I'd spent a hard night with in a Pyrenean pass. I've swallowed wriggling witchetty grubs, hacked from a tree root by Australian Aborigines as starters to steak cut from the carcass, and eaten fried before dawn and the flies made eating impossible. But you don't have to travel the world now to eat differently. We're all having to do it whether we like it or not. The food technologists and the food processors have ended the age of eating innocence I grew up in. Maybe we don't realize how greatly our food and our eating habits have changed in a single generation.
He eats to live, the humble man. In simple things he takes delight. He earns his living with his hands, and labour whets his appetite. So pity then the sophisticate, the jaded soul who lives to eat. He tours the world upon a plate for foreign sauce to spoil his meat. Give me plain, wholesome country food, cooked nice and simple, it does you some good. Some folk like radishes, some curl like kale, but give me boiled parsnips and a great dish of taters, some brown bread and butter, and a lump of fatty bacon, and a glass of good ale.
I buy 6, sir. Hey! I buy 4. Hey!
Let me loose in the kitchen and I can turn out with a bit of frantic leaping about. Something that will do more than just keep body and soul together, because I do for myself, you see. But if you let me loose in this kitchen, I wouldn't have the nerve to make a simple sauce. Even the most experienced mum, surely, would be daunted by the sight of so much earnest, single-minded endeavour, all devoted to the titillation of sophisticated taste buds. Look at them beavering away against the clock. It's a gastronomic workshop, a kind of assembly line that starts in the market while you're still sleeping and ends when you lift your knife and fork. And like all organised specialisation, it has an element of ritual. It can't be an accident, surely, that some of these hats of office remind you of a bishop's mitre. 3 chefs and 45 cooks, with, say, 200 gourmets gently salivating out there in the dining room. That's 1 kitchen expert to every 4 diners. In the eating pilgrimage I'm starting here tonight, surely I'll never get anything as good. But I'm not worried. I can take what's coming to me down the catering line, because though cooks have failed me, appetite never has. So here I go now to a dinner which I'm hoping to add to my none too large list of meals to remember. You wouldn't think to look at me, would you? But I'm an experienced eater. I've endured or enjoyed pretty well every kind of tissue restorer, from the awful, I refer, of course, to the British Rail sandwich, to the sublime, the finest creations of an ancient and honourable art, deservedly loved, or if you're unlucky, cursed. And you can quote me when I tell you that this meal, now unfortunately mostly under the hatch, is just about as far as civilized eating can take you from a caveman gnawing a bone. Animals feed, people eat. Neat, but inadequate word-wise. If you'd been knifing and forking beside me here tonight, you'd know what I mean. When you're lucky enough to sit down to a superlative meal, you don't just eat it. You can do that with fish and chips or tripe and onions. No, you take your time and you savor its subtleties of aroma and texture and, above all, of taste. I bet my grinning taste buds are mopping brows and shaking hands all round right now, and there must have been gratified comments from down below, too. Now, I'm eating in a British hotel, but this meal is not, I wish I could tell you it was, a wholly British meal, because it was designed and supervised by Monsieur Darc, a notable French chef who is, you might say, the guest conductor at this particular gourmet's weekend at the Imperial Hotel in Torquay. I say, this looks a bit of all right. Do you mind?
Here's a greeting from the grass, a blessing from the grain. Here's the smile of springtime sun, the tears of summer rain. Here's the breath of gentle breezes and the blush of autumn hue. Here's the season's treasure, nature's bounty brought to you. The sun and rain and soil and love are the tools of husbandry. Protect us from the farmer with a chemistry degree. The land will always give and take with those who recognize its worth. Oh, happy he who keeps the ancient bargain with the earth.
The man who grew this wheat keeps that ancient bargain with the earth. He uses modern machinery, but he farms as they did before chemical and oil companies and big business turned agriculture into agribusiness and equated farms with factories. Factories convert, farms produce. The topsoil hasn't had its structure changed and the balance of living things in it distorted by factory chemicals. No chemical pesticides or weed killers have been used on this wheat. Bernard Capon and his land are partners. How do you know this organically grown wheat's better?
Well, because we produce flour, our own flour, and the demand is so great now that we've had to turn this over to somebody else.
Now, do you think your organic farming affects other things, eggs, for example?
Oh, definitely eggs, and especially milk, because of the quality, and the keeping qualities, too. We sell at retail. People come from a distance of 20 miles once a week for their weekly supply.
It affects really everything, you think?
It does.
Even the fowls that you sell for the oven
yes,
and so on?
Very much so. They've got a better flavour.
Yeah, this is the important thing.
Flavour is. We stand for quality. We want to give the public a choice. We think it's about time. The public have been denied of this choice.
But in other ways, housewives today have too much choice. Supermarkets make me feel like a survivor from an eating past. Unless I can't help it, nothing the food technologists have mucked about reaches my trusting stomach.
Come along and join the queue, we've got something nice for you. If you're ready for a feed, we've got everything you need. It's dehydrated, sterilized, vacuum sealed, homogenized, reconstituted, pre-digested, of all taste and smell divested. Plastic knife and cardboard cup, just eat it and shut up. What gives you the right to hate our monosodium glutamate? The choice is there, so take your pick. Hunger pangs or feeling sick.
If you never knew the little grocer's shops of not so very long ago, you can get some idea of the food shopping past in here, where one man refuses to be packaged into a collection of serve-yourself shells, a small imitation of the new Big Brother. Morning, Mr. Broderick.
Morning.
How's business?
Not so bad, thanks.
Oh, that's something these days. Well, let's see now. I'll have a pound of raisins. and 2 pounds of sugar and 2 pounds of flour. Supermarket people don't need to know anything about food, and sometimes I think it's just as well for their peace of mind. But the old-style grocer had to know a lot about the stuff he sold and how to handle it, and he knew about his customers too and their different tastes. He'd offer you advice and tell you about anything special, and he'd sell you just as much or as little as you wanted. 1 biscuit? 1 biscuit it is. Half a pound, quarter of a pound, 2 ounce. The scales did your bidding. How's this? What's wrong with a paper bag? I want raisins, and I've got raisins without having to pay for a wood-consuming cardboard carton overprinted with exclamation mark guff and probably wrapped in still more paper. I can remember pressing my little nose against batteries of these and waiting for somebody to take the lid off this sort of thing so that I could reach in for a sweet. Unhygienic? Well, maybe, but an eye-brightening treat when you're 5. You could taste your cheese before you bought and choose your side of bacon. And what you got would keep good sliced for weeks. Don't try that with today's half-cured stuff. Like city centres, country towns have changed too, but not quite everywhere. Here in Ennis, in the Irish Republic, this shopping street looks just as shopping streets once looked everywhere. There were thousands more little shops when I was a boy, each giving a living to a family. And then there were the big high-class grocers, smelling of coffee and full of polished brass and great solid counters and aproned knowledgeable assistants and huge bins filled with everything that could be scooped onto the scales and paper bagged before your very eyes. And these shops gave a living to thousands. Another thing, you didn't have to wander about with a wire basket and queue to pay. You sat on a chair and gave your order. Here in Ireland, you could, and you still can, go one better and have a Guinness and a gossip while you considered things. And then you walked out unladen, and the whole lot was delivered, often within the hour, by a boy with a bicycle and a piercing whistle. You paid by the week, or the month, or if you were a parson's wife like my mother, by the quarter. And paying the quarter's bill was always good for something, you know. A bag of sweets from the grocer, fruit from the greengrocer, castanets of dried rib bones from the butcher. And remember, you paid just for the food. And the food was fresher and natural, not mucked about in any factory. And very often it was local food. Cheese, say, or butter. Butter in lovely round shapes, moulded with the farmer's trademark. Now, you're probably thinking this kind of setup wouldn't do today, and you may be right, but give me yesterday.
They neither sow nor help to grow the harvest that they reap. They take but give back nothing, those who plunder from the deep. They know no skills of husbandry, theirs is an older, cruder way. So with sweat and blood and sacrifice, the hunters made to pay.
You know, like tripe and pig's trotters, you just have to say fish and chips to split the British face in a grin. Yours is, isn't it? But you'll know, if you know what's what, that fish and chips should be treated not only with vinegar, but with respect. They fueled many a hard night's fun for me in the carefree days before dandruff and income tax caught up. They're handling good nourishment. Without fish and chips, the British diet would be even worse than it is. Fish is a first-class protein. Potatoes are a good, complex carbohydrate with vitamin C. The Harry Ramsden place at Guisley near Leeds, the biggest fish and chip establishment in the world, must be the poshest too. A far cry, you'll be thinking, from the little shops with a man in braces on one side of the counter and on the other, faces grave with anticipation and nowhere to sit. Well, you can take it away here too, but not the way we used to do it. The law says greaseproof paper. Think of. And quite right too, much more hygienic. Just give me a minute. You've got to condition them properly. Yeah, more hygienic, but there are traditional fish and chip purists who remember with unhygienic nostalgia the indescribable something that newspaper and printer's ink added to the taste of what is more than anything else the national dish. And you know, they tell me it puts lead in your pencil.
On olive oil and pizza pies the Roman soldier fed, and on their bellies soldiers marched, the great Napoleon said. When Tommy made his presence felt, he strode the world with greasy lips. No foreign food can build a man like British fish and chips.
When I was a young reporter looking after myself in a bed sitter and wanted to go out and get a meal I could bring back and eat as I worked, it was pretty well fish and chips or nothing. Well, we've still got our fish and chip shops, often with a facelift. And maybe that's just as well, because there's no doubt they're up against a lot of stiff competition now. Oh, look at this, the Karachi restaurant. Pakistanis, burning British throats. Italians are adding new words to our eating vocabulary. Americans adding fried chicken to good old ham and beef burgers. The housewife in a hurry, and there are more of them nowadays, has certainly got no lack of choice. And package stores and wartime meals in far civvy streets have given an awful lot of us international appetites. But the rivals to fish and chip are not all foreign. How's this for a pure British take-home menu? All the old favourites that won and lost us an empire. Here's another one. A home rival, the soup kitchen. Give me a couple of seconds and I could have thought of a better name for that. But of course, the first foreign rival to the fish and chip shop, and still far and away, I'd say, the biggest one, is here. It was the Hong Kong Chinese, under a severe sweet and sour barrage and with chopsticks at the ready, who first invaded our gastronomic shores. And it's a pretty small place in this country now, wouldn't you say, where you can't take Chinese away.
Said Robbie, bring me caviar, quails and aspic, pâté de foie, exotic dishes from afar, for good food is my hobby.
When you're dining out expensively and you order one of the traditional French dishes that have made that country famous for cooking, you naturally, as you sip your aperitif, picture to yourself white-hatted cooks, each a specialist, leaping to it under the all-seeing eye of a head chef whose exquisite taste dictates another pinch of this and another shake of that. And you could be right. But you could be wrong. Your traditional French dish might have been cooked here miles and days or weeks away and blast frozen. And while you're waiting at your restaurant bar to be called to your table, your traditional meal may be boiling in the bag. On the other side of the door, the waiters kick open.
The waiter answered, if you please, we'll bring you dishes most expensive. No restrictions on your choice, our menu's most extensive. The chef then added with a scowl, my art and skill will never flag. Fish and chips or guinea fowl, it all comes from a plastic bag.
You're looking at a bit of your eating out future. Alveston Kitchens at Stratford-on-Avon is at the luxury end of one of the newest developments in catering, the ready-made factory meal. The traditional dishes they cook, blast, freeze and put into plastic containers here have already been boiled in the bag and served. And they're being served in hotels and restaurants all over the country. If you dine out much, you've probably eaten one of these meals. And this could be your eating in future too. Some of these dishes are offered in supermarkets. And what goes into the bag, I'd say, is as near as mass cooking can get to the very best a really knowledgeable mum can turn out. This plant bakery serving just one part of London turns out 500,000 loaves a week. Marvellous, is it not? But I wouldn't say the same about the products. I make my own whole wheat bread. It's got everything the earth and sun put into the grain. Protein, vitamins, carbohydrate, mineral salt, and above all the bran, the roughage. We don't eat enough roughage. All they use of the original wheat here is the carbohydrate, the starch. It gives you energy, true enough. But like that other overeaten, over-refined carbohydrate, sugar, it gives you something else. Oh, cruel constipator. Here in the Arkady factory in Manchester is another technological bit of your eating future. Imitation meat made from processed soya beans. Take, for example, this familiar pub snack, a Scotch egg. It looks like the traditional thing, and my guess is that if you could eat a bit of this too, you would say it tastes like the traditional thing. And yet, it never saw a pig, or a sweatbox, or an abattoir. This is what it's made of. Textured soybean dehydrated flour. These are the rough lumps. Then they grind them down to a size suitable for simulating sausage meat. And this is just one of the growing number of things you can do with a marvelous soybean. Now just look at that. You know, I'm a truthful sort of cove, and when I came in, I was quite sure I could tell the difference between soya and meat. You know, a bullock's length away, but you can't, you know. Now then, this looks a bit different. What's that?
We have some fish there.
Does it smell like fish? No, you've missed out there, you know. Why don't you put fish smell into it?
It's a very mild fish.
Well, you know, this has come as a real surprise to me, and if they can only grow enough soya bean, and they're getting cracking on that, and if the public come to accept this kind of protein, and I think they probably will, you know, I can see the time coming, not too far away, say when the moss on my tombstone is just beginning to grow, when if you want to see a pig or a bullock or a cow, because, you know, they've got a machine to make milk straight from grass already, you'll have to go to a zoo. And in some ways, a terrible thought to an old man like me. But, you know, I think I'd rather see these animals in a zoo than in a factory farm. I can't leave this place without giving you a staggering statistic. That single silo tower there holds enough soya bean to give half the population of Britain all the protein they need for a day.
The sun and rain and soil and love are the tools of husbandry. protect us from the farmer with a chemistry degree. The land will always give and take with those who recognize its worth. Oh, happy he who keeps the ancient bargain with the earth.
These ought to be contented animals. Bernard Capon doesn't depend on outside feed, including imported concentrates, for his livestock. He grows all they eat. Muck and magic, the scientific boys call this kind of farming. But you don't hear that sneer so often now. World food shortages and rising prices and economic pressures, including the law of diminishing returns from expensive artificial fertilizers, are raising doubts about modern farming methods depending on expensive chemical and mostly oil-based products. Organic husbandry is a stable, sustainable system. It's growing in Europe too. One Swiss agricultural college has gone organic, and Swiss housewives have the choice Mr. Capon wants. This mixed grazing, Mr. Capon, and free run for your hens and so on is a return to the old method, really, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Now, what about yield?
Yield?
We've got a big population to feed. Could they be fed with this style of farming?
Oh, yes, definitely. Of course, the more you put into the soil or the pasture or what have you, of course, the more you're going to expect to get out. And the nearer you can mix the stocking, so much the better.
I've never known a time when so many people are so interested in food and how to cook and serve it. Cookery books are bestsellers and new ones are coming out all the time. These and the popularity of TV cooks and the sales of good food guides all prove that more and more people are taking a proper gastronomical interest in what they eat. And I'm all for it, because eating's a recurring pleasure that never palls. Well, it shouldn't if Mum and your favourite eating out place know their stuff. But I'd be even happier if as much interest was shown in the nutritional quality of the food that makes us, I believe, physically what we are. Well, here's to good eating.
Cheers.
Well, how does that go, Roy?
A tale he'll tell, the news he'll seek from day to day or week to week. With hand on heart or tongue in cheek, he'll have his say, will Robbie. For Robbie, he's a thinking lad, a reading, writing, doubting laddie. Robbie, he's got things to say, and he'll say them yet, will Robbie. To try and right the world's wrongs is beyond the power of any man. We each must do just what we can, that suits me fine, said Robbie. For Robbie, he's got things to say in London town or Lincoln Doddy, on life and death or work and play. Let's hear some more from Robbie.